Hello, this is Bob McMahon, Solutions Engineer with Birst, and I wanted to create another video tutorial, this one on configuring Birst Connect 1.0 for use with the command line. So before I get into it, I should note that Birst has recently come out with Birst Connect 2.0, and at the time I'm recording this, which is January 2018, it's primarily used for Pronto. So I'm not sure the timing or plans for when Burst Connect 2.0 will be available for admin and things like automated data refinement and ETL within admin. But if you're watching this recording later than 2018, you may want to do some searching on Burst Connect 2.0 before going down the path that I'm going to show here. Nevertheless, I needed to create a video for someone else on this approach, so I wanted to share it with others. So let's go ahead and get started. So just as some background, Burst Connect 1.0 can be run interactively from the browser within admin, right? And that can be useful for an initial configuration and setup. But typically, you're going to run Burst Connect locally from the command line for any sort of implementation. There's various reasons for that. One is if you need to download some database connectors, for example, some drivers that for databases that are not delivered with Burst Connect, you would need to go with the command line. And there's some other reasons as well. You can search on Burst Online Help for Burst Connect database driver support to see the list, so you can check that out. But to access data where Burst doesn't provide the driver, you will need to download the driver and then run locally from the command line. So go check the documentation on how to do this. This video tutorial is not intended to be a replacement for the documentation by any means. But nevertheless, I'm going to show you how. I'm going to walk you through it, show you how to do some things, and hopefully it'll be enough to get you up and running if you've never done it before. Okay, so let's proceed here. So I have a PowerPoint here of the basic steps we're going to go through. And this version's going to, there's one step in here that's going to be specific for Windows. If it makes sense, I may make another video for how to do it on a Mac as well. But it's just a slight alteration on how you're going to go about this between Windows and Mac. But this example will be on Windows. And I've detailed these 7 steps that we're going to go through, or at least discuss. So the first one's going to be just checking that you have the Java, essentially the Java requirements for Burst Connect. So right now, at the time I'm recording this, it's Java 7 or Java 8. Java 8 is recommended. So you're going to need to check if you have that, and if you don't, download it from the Oracle website. So you can just search on download Java 8, and you'll in Google, and that'll probably be your first hit. Then you're going to need to note where your Java home is, or where Java is installed. So I'll show you how to do that, but you're going to have to check that. And then some other steps: how to download Burst Connect, how to download the JNLP file. If you need to, you're going to download some third-party drivers and put them in a particular location in your Burst Connect folder. And then this is kind of the big one, right? Just configuring your command UI bat file for Windows, and I'll show you what that looks like. But there's 3 steps, or 3 things you need to account for in that one file, and then launching Burst Connect. So let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so looking at our steps here that we're going to go through. The first 2 are essentially around either checking that you have Java installed or installing it. And number 2 is writing down or pasting the location of that into a notepad or something, because we're going to need that location when we get down to step 6. So let's go ahead and just take a look at that. So here I'm in a Windows environment, and I do have Java installed, but you can come in and check if you have things like some Java control panel, which I do have up here, and you can come in and look at the versions that you have and whatnot. So here I'm running version 8 152, which is great. So just a reminder, your version 8 is recommended, version 7 is supported. So if you don't have Java installed, then you know it's a pretty straightforward thing here, where you're going to come in and just do a search on, download Java 8, and that first hit is going to be the Oracle website. And then you're going to come in here. You're going to have to accept a license agreement. You can come in, accept that. So Oracle's showing the two versions here. Either one will be fine. And then in this case, I had downloaded the 64-bit version, and install it. And when you go through that installation process, it will ask you for a directory where you want to install it. That's the directory that we're going to want for step 2. If it's already installed, you can come in and basically get a look at where some of these things are installed. But in my case, I could see it's going to program files. At least this 152 version is going to Java. So anyway, in terms of step 2, we can go ahead and already start to note this location here. So that's kind of step 1 and step 2. They're kind of really have nothing to do with Birst, but since it's a requirement for Birst Connect, you're going to have to go, just make sure you have that installed and note the location of Java Home and put that into a notepad. Okay, so let's continue on with our steps. We're up to step 3, which is to download Birst Connect, the zip file from Birst Admin. So before I do that, I just wanted to note this thing I put at the bottom of the slide, that the version of Birst Connect must always match the version of Birst that you're running. Okay, so when I go out to Birst Admin, I can check the version of Birst by going to Home, and it'll be reflected down in the lower left. So right now I'm running 5.28. So just be aware of that. I'm actually going to, when I save this Birst Connect, I'm going to name it with 528 in it, just to give me an indicator down the road what version that is. So as new versions come out, 529, things like that, you're going to want to download Birst Connect again and test it. But check the documentation, but I just wanted to mention that now. So I've created a blank space here. There's nothing in here. And I'm going to go ahead and go to Birst Connect. And we have two options here. We're actually going to use both. First, we're going to download this. But we're going to use this launch to grab a GNLP file specific for this space in the next step. But let's go ahead and download Birst Connect. This file, depending on your connection speed, may take a minute or two. I'm going to pause the recording here and pick it up when that completes. Okay, so my file has downloaded. Let's go ahead and take a look at that. So here is the zip file. I'm now going to extract this. And where you extract it's not important, but it is important that you remember where you're extracting it, because that is going to be your home, your Birst home directory that we're going to need when we configure our BAT file later on. So I'm going to go ahead and put this in a folder called Birst Connect, and like I was saying before, and I'm going to call this Birst Connect tutorial. I'm going to put a 528 in here, just in the directory name, just to make it clear to me. So we're going to go ahead and extract this into this folder I just created. In my case, like I said, we're going to go right to the C drive, but that can be in wherever it makes sense for you. Okay, so now if we go into that folder here, we're going to see that the zip file has now created all these folders and files, and there's a couple of these things that we're going to use at a later step. Okay, so back to our steps. We're now on step 4, where we're going to download this JNLP file for that space that we want to configure Birst Connect for. Okay, so here we're back in admin again. I can go to the Birst Connect screen, and here I'm going to do launch. Okay, and you can see now it's I'm getting an indicator in my browser hey, do you want to download this file? And I'm going to say yes, I do want to download it. And here now I have this JNLP file that we're going to need. So I'm going to go ahead and go to my downloads folder, and here is that file. And actually, if you're curious, that's not a meaningless file name. That's actually your space identifier. So you can, I think you can rename that. I'm sure that's not a problem, although you can experiment with it. I usually just leave it what it is. But that file name is matching the space ID, just in case you're curious. So if I go out to our downloads folder again, where I just downloaded that file, I'm going to now move this. So I'm going to move it to the Birst Connect folder that we just created in the previous step. Right, so this is the one that I just created. I'm going to go ahead and place my JNLP file in this directory. Okay, so we're up to step 5 here, which may or may not be applicable to you, but that is if I need to download some third-party drivers that are not included with Birst Connect. And as I indicated earlier, you can search on the Birst help to see what drivers are included. But let's assume that they are not. For example, if I wanted to connect to something like SAP or something else, I would have to download those drivers. And the location where they go, I'm not going to actually show that here, but the location where they would go is, if we go back to our Birst Connect, I think they're going to be in this dist folder, library, and then within here you'll see all these various different jar files. And this is the location where you're going to put your third-party drivers. For example, I'm going to bring over a window from my Mac onto the screen and show you one I've done in the past. Right. So same thing. I created this in the past, and then if we go ahead and look at this folder that we're just downloading, you can see most of these files match. However, in this case, I had downloaded some SAP ones. Right, you can actually tell from the dates here. So these were 3, or I think there was 2 or 3 that I put in this folder specific for SAP. But anyway, I just wanted to give you an indicator on where those files should go. Okay, so now we're up to step 6, which is probably the most interesting of the steps. And I actually created a second slide for that. So step 6, which is configuring this command UI.bat file, has 3 steps in it. And remember, this is specific for Windows. With Mac, you would use a slightly different approach with the shell file. But let's go ahead and show you how to do this on Windows. So I'm going to locate this file and edit it. So this is going to be in the directory for the zip file that we downloaded. So remember, this is the one that we just downloaded. And I'm going to go to this command line folder. And now I have some 2 different bat files. There's also an excellent README file in here that you should check out. It has a lot more useful information. But we're going to go ahead and edit this command UI one. And as I indicated on the slide there, we're going to account for 3 things here. So the first thing is I'm going to update this with my Java home location. And I had pasted that into my clipboard. And we're also going to update the Birst Connect location. So let's go ahead and grab that. So I'm going to go out to my folder here, and so the Birst Connect location is, basically this location here, and I'm just going to grab that into my clipboard. So this is this folder here. Let's go ahead and copy that, and we're going to update our file here. Okay, and actually that should be like that. Okay, and then our next step is to update the location for this JNLP file. So if we look at what it's looking for, it's basically already pointing to Birst Connect Home, right? So that's good, but we need to update the name of it. So let's go ahead and go out to uh, that particular file, and here was the one we downloaded. Whoops, I didn't mean to double click that, but we're actually going to just grab the name of this. So let's copy that and paste this in here. All right, so this is the name of that file that the bat file is going to be looking for when Birst Connects gets started. So that's it. So let's go ahead and save this. File save, and we're ready for the next step. Okay, so we're up to our final step, which is step 7, which is just to launch Birst Connect. So if we go out to our Windows Explorer, I could go into this location, go to command line, and actually just double click it and run it here, and we'll see a window come up, and now the Birst Connect application has come up. However, just to show you an alternative way, you can go out to the command line, and let's go ahead and go to that location. And let's go ahead and go into Birst Connect. And so I could run the file here, and I have one additional. I have to go into the command line. And then here I can, so there's our file, command-ui.bat, but I can do things like pipe to some error files. And if I have some errors, I can use this for some debugging. All right, so let's do this. One. And let's go ahead and run that. And that will come up as well, but I'll also have these files here that I can check for some debugging. Okay. So now to use Birst Connect, you would use this obviously the same way you would do it if you launched it from within admin in the browser. Right, but just to round this out, let's go ahead and add a task here. We'll give us a name. And here I'm going to connect to some data sources. So if I installed some or downloaded some drivers, which we talked about in the previous step, I would have more options here. But here I'm going to go ahead and select, I have SQL Server installed locally. So I'm going to go ahead and just authenticate here. And get my tables. So now we're connected, and I can go ahead and grab the ones that I want here. Let's go ahead and just grab those. And I'll go ahead and run this interactively just so you can see these things now populating in the space that JNLP file is tied to, which is this one. So this will take a second to run. Let me just go ahead and pause. Okay, so that task has completed. We'll click OK here. And now when I go out to Birst, we're going to see my different tables here. So that kind of rounds it out. So just to recap, we've basically gone through all of the different steps there. We just finished 7 there. And you're off and running. So hopefully this was helpful. And I'll post this on the Birst community, and please leave feedback if it was helpful, or if you have any other questions. All right, thanks for your time. Take care.